All right, what's going on, people? We are back. Episode number 8. I think it's 18 or 19, something like that. Conscious Approach Podcast. JV Wins here. Dave De Niro G here. I think we are in a better position to talk about the George Floyd situation and the subsequent reaction and everything that's going on in America, and things are just kind of crazy and upside down at the moment. Um, we kind of calmed down. I think we tried to do this a couple days ago, and I just felt like it wasn't the tenor of the video wasn't right, and so I elected not to put it out there. So we decided to regroup and come back and try it again. That video will probably never see the light of day. I don't know how valuable that commentary was. So we decided to get another stab at it, and so here we are. First off, want to say right up front before we even get into our thoughts about what's going on, what happened is an atrocity. It's an absolute atrocity, and it makes me sad that I'm still waking up in a society in which this takes place. Nevertheless, there are people who condone the actions. I've seen some fringe sections of media who are trying to rationalize and justify the result while still trying to condemn what happened. And I don't even understand how you go about doing something like that. That to me just doesn't make sense. What happened was an absolute atrocity. It's the worst. It's one of the worst things I've ever witnessed in my life. And again, I just think that it's unfortunate that the climate of America in 2020 is such that there are people who feel as though they have the wherewithal to abuse power and authority in such a way that it can result in the loss of life for the underprivileged and underserved in America. And it just pisses me off to think that we're still having these things take place. I also want to say that the reaction to what's going on, specifically on Friday and Saturday nights, with some of the aggressive protest elements out there. I'm all for the protests. I'm all for peaceful protests. Vandalism and violence, though, is completely unacceptable. And it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever for you to destroy businesses in communities that serve you. Even if those businesses aren't Black owned, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to have the integrity of those businesses be compromised because of your emotional reaction to everything that's taking place. But on the flip side of that, I will say that it is very apparent if you're following what's going on, not in the mainstream media. So not if you're watching CNN or Fox or anything like that, but if you're on YouTube and you're following credible sources in the media on the internet, you will see that a lot of the violence and the vandalism in the protests have been fringe groups who are looking to take advantage of the situation to create chaos so that they can selfishly come up on things that they otherwise wouldn't be able to come up on, either because they don't want to pay for it or because they're too broke to pay for it. So the people who are breaking in and burning down Champs and stealing shoes out of Adidas and Gucci and all of that, which is just the lowest form of scum. A lot of those are fringe elements that aren't a part of the actual protest. So I just felt like I wanted to say that to make sure that that's out there for people to understand. Because a lot of people are like criticizing protesters, especially a lot of people on social media have been criticizing protesters. And I feel that that is intellectual laziness to, blanketly criticize everyone who's protesting when the people who are creating the chaotic situations that are resulting in, fisticuffs and violent confrontations with police and vandalism and the violence, those are fringe elements that are not a part of the actual constructive protests that are going on. Beyond that, this being Conscious Approach and the platform that I have, been consistent with and creating content for, and something that I care about dearly is, talking about constructive ways to get to the root of issues to fix them. I'm all about fixing problems. I'm not about lamenting on the state of affairs, because we know what that is.
Solutions.
Yeah, I'm very solution oriented. And so that's always the angle that I come at my commentary from. It's about, guys, what's the problem and how do we fix it? So that is probably going to be what this video is about. We all know what we witnessed was wrong. It's atrocious, and we got to work to correct it. But how? So constructive ways to go about thinking about it. We have to shift the mentality. So I put up a post on Facebook Friday night, and it got a lot of reaction from people who shared. Though you were one of the first people who shared what I put up. A lot of people shared and commented. I didn't see a lot of people approaching it from the standpoint of trying to get to the root of what's going on so that we can work to come up with pragmatic solutions. So I'll just go ahead and read what I put out there for people who haven't read the post themselves. And this is on my Facebook page. If you just go down my feed, you'll find that it's the last thing that I posted on there. But what I said was, these protests have been a call to action to demand justice for the death of George Floyd, that the officers be arrested, charged, and convicted accordingly. Justice is very necessary. However, people need to understand that this is not a solution to systemic racism. Racism is the power to exert a state of oppressiveness over a group of people by controlling their means of acquiring education, economics, housing, and otherwise appreciable assets, thus disenfranchising said group. Historically, Black people in America have been the most adversely victimized by this dynamic, so the anger and frustration on our part is not being exaggerated. Eradicating systemic racism, therefore, boils down to a matter of exerting economic pressure upon the power structure until it can no longer function. Real change comes from Black people collectively banding together to create an environment that will force the power structure to implode upon itself. This is about economics. Black-owned businesses, entrepreneurship, Black neighborhoods, Black Wall Street, and a greater emphasis on higher education, and then using that gained power to effectively shut the system down by investing your purchasing power in Black-owned initiatives is the only way to stem the tide of systemic racism. At that point, you can control where your tax dollars are spent, thus being more in control of how a police force may recruit and vet police officers. At that point, you have less instances of racially prejudiced officers patrolling your neighborhoods because you maintain a greater control of the police force in your communities. And these are just to name a couple of effects of economic freedom. I get what's going on, and I do appreciate the multiracial effort, but this response fixes nothing. It merely shows that we may preach about change, but what we're really after is vengeance, not a solution to the true problem. You may be okay with seeking vengeance, and I wouldn't argue with the transparency of those who readily admit such a priority, but you need to understand the result that the vengeance yields. You will still wake up in an America that siphons your resources only to throw you in the scrap heap once it's done with you. So we should take inventory on ourselves and realize the power we have. You can count me in with those who think these protests, again, the violence and the vandalism elements in them, are a bad approach that deter from the message. What's happening in Atlanta in particular, and I wrote this on Friday night, so at the time that I wrote it, Atlanta was just on fire. And I said what's happening in Atlanta particularly is a very bad look, and I don't care what anyone says. Now, this is really important. July 7th is Blackout Day 2020. If you search the hashtag Blackout Day 2020, you can look it up on any social media platform. I implore you all to check it out if you're interested in being a part of something that can, if done right and with enough support, instigate true change. So that was my thought about it. I wanted the emphasis to be placed on, systemic racism and how you eradicate systemic racism. I feel like there's not enough of an emphasis on that. A lot of us are spending a lot of time talking about the act, which I understand. But when it comes to practical solutions, the marches and the protests are not going to get to the root of that.
No. I remember, like I said, I had a different approach at night as the days go by, kind of, see what's going on, and we understand, I guess it's a couple responsibilities. The first thing is, you never understand what somebody's going through situations, so it's nice to see, different people coming from different walks and trying, protesting and whatnot. And like you said, with the people getting burnt down and things like that, like, I don't condone it or I don't judge, like, I understand, what I'm saying? We all different. And like you said, you don't know what's going through somebody's mind. So I saw something today which made me think it really made sense. And I'm just like, first of all, I understand everybody's point of view and what's happening. And I just hope that once we get past this, everybody gets what they deserve. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to say that first. I hope everybody get what they deserve out of this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then it's like we said, man, all the protesting, like I'm with it, but like tearing down stuff. And I just look at it like logically, like if people willing to go out and do that, then, people should be willing to come together and like, work together, like really, and try to like build businesses together and stuff. Because like you said, I don't see the change. Like I don't really see the main problem, which is the systemic racism. I don't see it stopping because we're in the streets and burning down stuff, and that hurts people, man. It really hurts because if you live there and you burning down your stuff and the place you live, like what you supposed to do? What's gonna be the end result?
It services you. That's the thing. Is those places are servicing you.
Yeah, like I heard they burned down the AutoZone.
Yeah.
So now I didn't even like stuff, even though I'm just saying. So they burnt down a couple of courthouses, but like it's crazy, man. But I think, like you say, from the most important part of the thing is education.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people put no emphasis on that. Like you said, educating ourselves to create better opportunities where you don't have to, like you say, maybe get underpaid or work on businesses and things like that. And especially being with that we're in COVID-19 and everything it is. This is the best time. Not everybody, but most people have like internet and stuff like that. So like, there's countless of people paying like service jobs, and like you can try to figure it out now.
And this is similar. I think that this ties into the COVID-19 video that we did, where it talks about where we talked about gaining the wherewithal to understand that you have the ability to change your circumstance so that you can remove yourself from a lot of these systemic issues.
Yeah, but it's like you said, but it's hard because I guess like what do you say, your product and your environment.
Correct.
So you only is probably as good as what you see.
Correct. But we have to be able to rise above that though.
I mean but my thing is, I feel like not all of us, but like naturally, like you said, there's aggression. So the thing is, like what I was saying is like for most people out there, not like saying most people. If you never owned a business or if you don't have nothing to lose, then you're willing to just go tear up stuff. You're not gonna think rationally. And like a lot of those people out there are not successful business owners who are protesting. Mm-hmm. They're just people who probably work with them, but they never own a business. So, because I guarantee if they had their own business, they won't want nobody to burn it down because that's your income.
Yeah,
that's your livelihood. But unfortunately, a lot of us livelihoods are based on the government, which is not running right now.
Yeah.
So it's just really unfair that you go, like I say, everything that happened. I get it with George Floyd. So like you said, we get that part. Like it's terrible. Like you said, it's just sad. It's sad for that to happen. But to go down and like start burning up stores and all that, like that's just not going to get us nowhere. That's not the solution. Like you can't fight violence with violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think we really need to just like say educate ourselves. But it's hard when people frustrated, and but it's still no excuse. And it's just weird, man. It's just crazy, like all this stuff happening. And unfortunately, you got some people who just rather be terrorize the city just to get a thrill out of it.
Yeah, and again, the people who are doing that are just trying to create chaos so that they can come up on worldly possessions. Like, I don't understand how a Gucci bag and an 8K TV gives you justice for George Floyd. I don't get it. Like, you're not going to be able to explain that to me. But you have people who are justifying it by saying, we tired and we've been dealing with it for so long. This is the response you're going to get. And listen, to that point, people who want to critique it in that way, that's fine. But I just refer you back to the point that I made in that post. In the moment, that might give you some solace because you felt like you got over somehow.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, systemic racism is still going to be here, and you're still going to be a victim of it. So all of that looting and all of the stuff that y'all are doing out here to create this chaos, you're not going to get to the root problem and fix it. You're just going to create an environment in which there's chaos so that you can leverage it to get over. It's a selfish. It's a place of selfishness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That is kind of
ignorant.
It's 100% ignorant, but even beyond that, like, it's hard to defend the logic of it juxtaposed to trying to solve the problems in society, is what I'm saying. And that's the only place that I'm coming at that from. But when it comes to emphasizing education and entrepreneurship, business ownership, all of these ideals that ultimately lead to one being free from systemic racism, I understand that we are products of our environment. I completely get that. And so the values and the ideals that are instilled in you during child rearing and adolescence and into adulthood, that sticks. A lot of these are generational curses. And most often the curses persist. They don't get broken. But to say that that's a pie in the sky narrative that isn't possible because we are products of our environment. And I'm not saying that's what you were saying. I'm just saying these are the things that I've heard. People dismiss the notion of us as individuals trying to do better because they want to talk about racism and where we come from and the product of our environment. To me, that's a defeatist mentality, because that's basically saying we don't have the capacity to gain the awareness to improve. And I fundamentally disagree with that.
I agree with you.
You know, and I don't really care what environment that you come from. There's a point when you become mature enough to gain the awareness necessary to plant the seeds, to put in the work to change your circumstance. And that's how we all do better. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, if I'm just saying, let's say we're in an alternate reality. Let's say we step through a portal right now and we were in an alternate universe where Minneapolis, Minnesota is run by 15,000 businesses all owned by Black people. And let's say collectively all of those businesses decided, we're going to vote for this judge, or we're going to vote for this prosecutor, or we're going to order from this supplier collectively. So all of us together as Black-owned businesses are going to order only from this supplier because we don't like what this supplier is doing. That supplier that you don't want to order from, that might be a byproduct of systemic racism because maybe it was founded by some sort of, maybe it has a foundation that's rooted in racism somehow, which a lot of these old money businesses that are run by these white people are. Suddenly, how are they going to function? They don't have a buyer. Their supplies aren't being purchased. Maybe they have to file for Chapter 7, Chapter 11. You never know. But that's the type of stuff that we need to start thinking about. But I agree with what you're saying. Like, from a standpoint of the mentality of us as individuals, we seem to miss the mark on that. And I don't want to deter from the call for justice. I just want to focus on pragmatic solutions. And in my opinion, we're not focused enough on that in terms of shifting the mentality. We need to be talking more about how do we put the squeeze in the places that are most appropriate to put the squeeze so that we can see the change that we're looking for.
Yeah, but the problem is, I always say this, the hardest thing about change is that you have to change yourself. And like, most people, unfortunately, are, I just saw my train of thought just did, but most people not going to take accountability. And you see what I'm saying? So like to be real with it, it got to get to a point where, like, and I ain't trying to get religious, but I'm going to just drop this little knowledge from the Bible. Which one was it? Basically, you got to stop, we got to stop, when they say treat each other, treat how you want to be treated. And another thing is, like, humans. And see, that's like when we talk about the athletes, but the problem I have is too many of us are like you say, you want us to go out and vote, but everybody want to put a blame on the government, the president. But like, when as an individual, when are you gonna get tired of yourself? Like, I get people tired. You're tired of the system, but like, if you know you're not in a personal space of goodness because you don't decide to get up, because you're not deciding to go the extra mile to work, because you're not doing that, like, it gets to a point where you gotta be tired of yourself. You can be tired, I get you tired of this, but like, are you tired of yourself? You know what I'm saying? So like, you got to be really that's what we got. It can't be a double standard throughout this whole thing, and that's what's most confusing because there's a double standard. Like we said before, like I'm glad to see everybody coming together from all races, but black people got to do the same thing. When Lil John killed Lil Ray,
yes,
we got to do the same thing.
Yes.
It just has to be the same. If we really, that's what's going to shift, because like we come out, but tearing up is nice to see all that. I get it. But it can't be a double standard. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't admit to that. Like a lot of people not, like everybody's calling, and I'm a big believer in like, don't ask for what you can't give.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You get tired of this guy not doing right, but you ain't even doing right by your own self.
Yeah.
But I guess that just be a little too deep for some
people. I don't think so, man. I think you're right on the money, but it's like we was talking about before we started doing the video. I think that the touchy thing about this sort of commentary is when you try to get into this kind of stuff, it gets touchy because in order for us to start talking about solutions, it's going to force people to reconcile with their accountability or lack thereof. And no one wants to do that. We just want to talk about what we're mad about.
And I said, like I told you before, it's just like if you go to boot camp gym and you know you're overweight, and when you walk in the door, you got people there who've been there 6, 7 months, 2 years, they're in shape, and unfortunately they got the guy talking. He gonna talk cash shit, excuse my language, and he starts saying if you're fat, you need to lose weight. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but like, yes, it's touchy because it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
The only reason things get touchy
is because
true.
There's truth to it. Absolutely.
And so like we say, unfortunately, if you're fat or overweight, then it's only one or two. It's only a two-way street.
Right.
You either continue to stay overweight or you make changes in your habits.
Yeah.
Eating, working out. So like, it's the same thing. You gotta make changes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta make changes. Touchy. Nobody wants to touch on it because deep down inside, we all have been racist. Deep down inside, we are all human, which this is why racism is stupid. Deep down inside, we all have the same damn human features, emotions that I always say make us unbalanced. And that's why I was saying it's so important to find balance, because when you're in balance like that, you will go out there and do stuff like that because you only operate off of one, basically emotions, frustrated, you're tired. But you're not making a complete balance of the fact that you should be tired of yourself too. Not saying the system's not at fault, but it's got to be 50-50. Half of the system, but half is your fault not trying to learn maybe a skill, a trade, or maybe not taking your job serious enough, or maybe you're not trying to work. You know, we do have Section 8. We do have them things. I know that stuff helps, but we got to stop depending on that stuff.
I would say they don't help. I say they have the opposite effect.
What I'm saying, it helps. Because there's certain people who get on there and really have to, like, you got people who really work and use it to their advantage and then end up
you have a lot of people who just use it as a crutch.
Yeah, that's the problem. But you got some people who use it because they really need it and then they move on. Like, it's supposed to be a stairway to your stability. It's
supposed to help you transition.
And so, but a lot of people not on that. But a lot of people they just want to take that. So, like, it's like, so we blaming the government. But, like you said, you get mad when they invite you to the party, and then you go to the party, and it ain't what you expected. You know what I'm saying? It's not your party.
Yeah. That party was like that last year.
You get mad at the government, but you're not, you get mad at it, but you're taking it. You take we take the government assistance, and you get mad at the same person. So we can't go to the party and complain about what liquor they serve.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
My brother talked about that. My brother made a comment on my post, and he mentioned the entitlement programs, and it's a poison. And it is. I agree. Like, that is one example of our propensity for hypocrisy when it comes to this. Like, people don't even realize that a part of what allows systemic racism to flourish is these programs that they give to us, but they're designed to keep us in a certain box.
That system is predicated around, unfortunately, poor black people. Yeah. So even though I might be
poor people in general, but most poor people are black though.
But it's like okay, that bus is designed for that, and deep down inside, I might be really rich in spirit and want to make it out. But unfortunately, if I'm on that bus, you in the same boat. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so we got to like me. I understand it. If you really on it and it's helping you, I get it, because some people really need help. But for the most part, people got to know that, like, struggling is part of life. Like, it's a real thing. It's supposed to make you better. But instead of, the problem is people want somebody to corral them. They want the government to bail you out when you just need to get stronger with yourself.
Absolutely.
You want somebody to come bail you out. You want somebody to say it's okay. You fail. Sometimes if you get hit, you just gotta hit back. Period.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get. I don't want to get too riled up.
I feel you. I agree 100%. But I don't want people, anybody who might watch, this particular episode. I don't want you to mistake this for us, saying that it's all. I don't want it to be like, I'm not pointing the finger at us saying, George Floyd was unfortunate, but this is about us. No, I believe I started this all out by saying it was absolutely atrocious. But I do think that every situation provides a learning opportunity, as unfortunate and as tragic as it may be. And I think you and I both share in common the we have a natural, like, it's in our nature to search for practical solutions to real problems. And we believe in the notion of accountability and personal responsibility. Like, sue me for feeling that way. That's just how I think of it.
I think everybody can agree, in the great words of Michael Jackson, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
But it's even funny, like, what I hear you. But it's even like, you made a great point in the last video that we scrapped, where we were talking about the stuff that was going on out in the streets, and you were saying, like, damn, like, y'all going in there for bedspreads and lotions and 8K TVs, but it's like, if you would have seen somebody breaking into Lowe's or Walmart to get what was the model of the mower?
Yeah, a little ride lawnmower, zero turn.
Zero turn,
zero turn.
So that you can, steal some tools so that you can start a business for yourself.
You can steal Rolexes, but I ain't encouraging them, but you steal Rolexes, man. Them people got sued, them. You just can't sell those things, man.
But why you're stealing things that depreciate in value the moment that you walk out the door, literally.
If y'all get y'all some zero turns and some weed eaters, store it at your house and wait till it's over with. And guess what? A lot of people grass growing because you cut it. You'll be ready to go. Like, go steal something that, but that goes into that when people get offended when you say ignorant, and then because there's white and really it's not even black and white thing. It's just a lot of people as a whole who are ignorant. Yeah. A lot of us not educated. There's a lot of white people who don't own businesses. There's a lot of white people who have not stepped out and done the entrepreneur thing or tried to be businessmen. So you got a lot of people who are, like you say, average citizens living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
And so when you live paycheck to paycheck, unfortunately, you don't know the value of these businesses around you because you have no business acumen.
Yeah.
And so you tearing up stuff. It's the old ball. It's the old fact of, like, I got the basketball at the court, and then 10 people come, but y'all don't pick me up. And since y'all don't pick me up, I'm gonna take my ball. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna run the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of, like, not getting better or just be like, I just ain't good enough. You salty.
Let me.
I say for sure. I don't care if you're black, white, whoever you are. If you have a business that you own, if your business is out there, you could have been out in the streets protesting. If that person had a business, ain't too many people leave their personal business to go protest, and burn out other people's business.
Absolutely not.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, that's the unfortunate part about it. It sucks because it's a two-way street. Like, we need the protest, I get it, but, like, when you tear other people's stuff down that you have no responsibility for, it's selfish and it's irrational.
Yep.
But, and it's ignorant. You know, we lack knowledge. So, like I said, we just need to take this time to get more game, more knowledge, man. YouTube, y'all, bro, do you understand?
So much
YouTube,
knowledge out there.
Now, you understand, like,
so
YouTube
much
is
knowledge,
like,
man.
YouTube is like a gem. It's a golden treasure. You literally can just watch a video about anything.
It's literally like it's a living museum. Yeah. Like, you can literally go in there and learn so many applications.
All you gotta do is type in marketing. Yeah. You don't have to go to school. That's why, like, I'm with Gary P. Like, that whole school stuff, like, not to get off topic, but, like, you see now, everybody, like, school, bro, you don't need school, that shit. Like you said, if you go in there and you're not taking no debt coming out, I'm all for it. But like you said, people need to just start to do for yourselves and stop trying to fall under the tradition. That's what the whole thing I like about it. The world has been conditioning the people, and we tend to just want to go with the world, and move and move with all the conditional thinking. You should go to school and you should just get a job and work. They ain't teaching you how to be entrepreneurs and things like that, but you can learn that stuff now. YouTube, like you don't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
We spend 2 months down. If we spend 2 months of just learning stuff, you'll be better.
I think that the first measure that has to be taken is everyone needs to reconcile what they individually have participated in, contributed to on a personal level. So this isn't about joining an organization. This isn't about picketing and protesting. In your daily life, what are the habits and behaviors that you have contributed to? That when you put that stuff into motion over the course of an extended period of time, you will be able to eventually free yourself. And then you can teach those same skills to your children, who can then teach that to their children. And it just becomes a cycle that repeats upon itself. It's habitual. And collectively, if enough of us are doing this, then effectively we can create the power that we need in order to be able to eradicate systemic racism, because it's about putting the squeeze on the system until it can no longer function. And it's just shifting the mentality. And on the streets, at the ground level, all of us as individuals, if we're being honest, we can say we haven't done enough with that. I haven't done enough. I'm learning. Yeah. I don't think you probably haven't reached your pinnacle. No. Everybody, I'm driving down the street all the time, man. I'm looking at average everyday citizens, black, white, or otherwise, especially black people, just because the lens through which I view the world. I'm always kind of paying attention to a lot of these things, and we are living in the world, but we're not living of the world. And so a lot of us are just kind of surviving and not thriving. And it's about shifting the mentality away from all of these things that we talk about all of the time, man. The system, all of these systems that are put in place to keep you in a certain box. You have the capacity to free yourself from it, so long that you shift the mentality. And racism, systemic racism, which police brutality is a byproduct of, is one of those things that you can free yourself from if you gain the wherewithal to just plant those seeds in motion as an individual. At the individual level, we just have to do more. We have to do better.
Yeah, and the individual, it's hard. Like you say, individual part, that means you got to tell yourself.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm saying, so it starts now. Like, everybody look in the mirror and come to terms with where you are and where you need to be.
And when you say come, like, you need to look in the mirror and admit to you flaw. Like, I'm not against nothing, but some, like I was saying with you, I haven't drinking 30 days, and you know when you have certain things that's holding you back.
Yes.
You know, like, you maybe just don't need to drink 6 packs in a week. Maybe take it down to 3. You know, maybe you don't need to, if you're going out and you don't have money, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you need to just start buying sandwich meat. And like, whatever it is, making changes. And
save the money on your bud and your blunts and your weed,
man. They get hungry, but I understand, like, it ain't easy, man, but you got to sacrifice. But that's why it's called sacrifice, because it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard, man. But we just got to shift the mentality to pragmatism, people. Yeah. Practical approaches to real problem solving and real solutions, man. Like, including systemic racism, man. Like, what happened to that man was an atrocity. Again, like, there's no way around that, man. And I hope that those officers are all convicted accordingly and sent to prison for as long as the law will allow them to rot in prison. Absolutely. But we need to understand the root of this. And I think so long as we all can understand the root of this, we can work to put changes in effect to fix them.
And I want to say this, man, like, and I get it, but everybody has to understand, man, like, I hear people saying, the police not this and that. And just on a true standpoint, we have to understand that, unfortunately, when the Constitution was wrote, it never really included the African Americans like that in general. So, they said equal, one under one nation, equal, but like, it's always unfortunately been a little harder for the African American community. And there'll always be that way, like you said, because it's enrooted. So we need to understand, like, everything that's happened is like, it's been happening, it's going to keep happening. Like, unfortunately, this won't be the last time. But like you said, we need to start making rational changes in our personal lives now. Like, we come together to march in the streets. Let's come together and start doing business deals. Let's stop coming together to smoke weed with each other, but won't come together to talk about a business plan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We want to come together and talk about Kobe, LeBron. I get it. We want to talk about all these things, and that's fine. But we don't come together for some that, and that's the problem. We need to come together and start having business with each other and things like that. But
I agree, man. These politics, elected officials, all of that, man, in my opinion, man, it just kind of falls by the wayside. I hear what a lot of people say when they talk about all of these changes that need to be made when it comes to the courts and the criminal justice system and social injustices, man. I get all of that. But look, man, if we collectively decide that we're going to shift the mentality to make personal adjustments and commit to behaviors that can lead to economic freedom and thus freedom in life, freedom from these shackles that society has around us, then we'll be all the better for it, bro.
But we gotta learn to start respecting people for who they are and not stop trusting people. I get tired of all this. For some reason, we tend to think because these people are in these political spots or president, like I feel like when we sit, the president won't do this for us and not doing that. And I feel like we just do ourselves we shortcut ourselves a little bit, trusting somebody when I can gain more knowledge for myself and probably just do it. Why do I need to trust somebody with making some kind of drastic change in my personal life?
Well, that's why I have a very secular relationship with the political system, because I just think that I think that success is rooted in individualism, not reliance on a political structure. That's why. But people kind of get, people want to criticize me for that because they feel like I'm not involved enough or staying informed with the. But the thing about it is, that stuff completely falls by the wayside, man.
It's built off the people. So your politics are built off getting people to believe in them, and that's right, really right.
But we also do that. We do that with a lot. Like, to be fair, it's not just with. No, I'm just saying, like, it's not just with politics. We do that with the people who do black people worship, these athletes and these entertainers, these rappers. We do that where we hero worship these people and assign them a certain authority or a level of knowledge. Like it's almost like we assign them a level of knowledge. We make them an authority figure, not even subconsciously. We do it overtly because we're just we're constantly grasping for something to cling to in order to get inspiration from. When you get inspiration from yourself, like, I don't give a shit what LeBron's opinion on something is. I don't care. He's a flawed human being just like me. I don't care about LeBron's opinion on anything.
Or Drake Newhouse,
Michael Jordan, Kobe. I don't care who it is. I don't care. I don't care what, like, it doesn't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I find inspiration in myself, and I get it. I get it. Like
they say something that does make sense, I'll be like, okay, that, like, I agree. I can make sense. It makes sense.
I get it, but
I'm not going to, like, it's kind of like Dave Chappelle.
I'm not hanging on them to speak to every issue. Like, I don't need you to speak for me. I don't, but I get, maybe that's just me being the individual that I am.
Maybe that you told me to watch with Dave Chappelle,
right?
And he said the news always put a rapper on there talking about, well, let's think what Ja Rule did.
Yeah.
He say, oh, like, the last person I'm calling is like, oh, I don't know what to do. Let me call Ja Rule and see what he did. He said, oh, give a damn what Ja Rule did.
When some crazy shit in society goes down, I'm not looking to see what LeBron has to say.
Just like they had Jamie Foxx speaking the other day. And I get it, but, like, I just feel like y'all could you have been started doing, unfortunately, I'm not saying, but, like, we know it's been, like, couldn't people have been taking the forefront?
Yeah, man. I get it. Listen, people. It's just, I get it, man. But look, even if you, regardless of whether you disagree or agree with any of the stuff that we may have said during this video, we don't do this for people to agree with us. So I don't care personally whether you agree with me or not. This is my platform, and I'm going to put the message out there how I want to. So if you agree or not is none of my concern. But what I do want you to take away from this is on a personal level, man. And I think I've said this in other videos before, but you need to take inventory on what's important to you. And as people, as individuals, and, we're talking about, these nebulous, we're talking about these nebulous concepts like racism and all of that kind of stuff. You need to self-reflect, which you like to say a lot. And you need to understand what are the things that I am doing on a daily basis, what are the behaviors and the habits that I'm committing to in order to be a change agent, a part of the larger collective of change agents who will work using the gain knowledge and the assets that we have to actually instigate true change. That's the true model behind this. I'm signed off. I don't have anything else to say, man. Rest in peace to George Floyd. And it's sad, it's a tragedy, but yet again, it provides us with learning opportunity nevertheless. You got anything else?
I just say, man, in all seriousness, it's always easy to ask for apology, but sometimes we gotta understand that, you gotta be the bigger person, and sometimes you gotta admit when you're wrong. You gotta be able to say sorry. And so, if people don't understand those two things, if you don't understand them two dynamics, it'll always be confusion.
Yeah, it will always be confusion, man. So, until next time, man. Be sure to follow us on all relevant platforms. We on YouTube. Search Conscious Approach. We are the website is consciousapproach.com. You can find me on Instagram at JVWins. You can search me up on the Facebook. I'm pretty active there as well. You can find Dade at 305_and_beyond on Instagram. pvo.apparel on Instagram. Please check it out, man. It is worth it.
Shout out to Tap Action.
Black owned business.
Yeah,
black owned business.
Tap Action. My dog be, sorry, but the homie. Homie, we got a collab coming. You want to get rate right? He know how to live, so we got a collab coming. So I rep. It ain't just about always having your brand out there. Yeah. It ain't about PVO.
Right.
This is about somebody else, man. Support people, man. Y'all need to stop all that talking and start supporting.
As well as PVO as well, black owned business, man. And the website is pvoapparel.store. Already mentioned the Instagram page. Be sure to like us. Be sure to give a like on this video, man, if you like it, or like it if you didn't like it. I'll take it either way. And let us know what you think in the comments below. But until next time, man, everybody love everybody. Everybody self-reflect, take inventory on what's important to you. And please understand that these protests are matters of symbolism. They're acts of symbolism, but they don't work to get to the root problem and change that. So, work on doing what you need to do as an individual to be a change agent to fix the root problem. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Until next time, we will see you later. Peace.